Welcome back again to the Outer Dimensions podcast. Welcome back again to the channel where we discuss movies past, present, and maybe even a few future ones. Welcome back again to the Outer Dimensions podcast. Welcome, of course, to Dre, CEO of the Collector Safe Space and co-host, co-founder, and cohort of the Outer Dimensions podcast. And of course, you can find Dre on his channel, the Collector Safe Space, where he discusses pretty much just about everything. If are you into anime, comics, collecting, well, he's got it all. He covers wrestling. He even covers. You still have the father figures coming out very soon, don't you?
Uh, we're it's a work in progress right now. Father Figures is going to be a work in progress. We are currently negotiating time.
Yeah.
It's a
Oh,
time is
I
a
get that.
time is a big one because Colin is very busy with both his channel and his podcast and several other projects he's
Mhm.
working on. So I'm
Yep.
just trying to negotiate time
No,
with him. So
I get that completely. And those who don't know, father figures is toy collecting from the perspective of a father and their children, which is a nice, awesome little concept that Dre and Colin of EC Collecting have come up with collectively. And they're going to be, as you just heard from Dre, they're going to be working on it. So stay tuned to both channels to find out more details.
And just
And
to give you guys a dot of this, the idea is not collecting as a dad; it's collecting as a father. But your kids. We're not going to talk about like Marvel Legends and stuff like that. We're literally looking at kids' toys, their trends, stuff that's really geared because Colin's son is 9. I have a 14-year-old, an 18-year-old, and a 3.5-year-old. So we're looking at those things that are really 9 and like 10 and under and getting what they're interested in. So just wanted to kind of cover that.
okay. And of course, I am Dave of Dave's Dimension, the channel where chaos and insanity will always reign supreme, and your home for tech toys and talk. Uh, and we are combined, we are the Outer Dimensions podcast. Now, this week we are continuing the best battle films. Now, we're not talking about battle as in action, we're talking about Dre's picks versus my picks when it comes to movies. We've heard that a lot of you viewers and listeners, of course, because you're also listening to us on Spotify or wherever you get your podcast from. We have done some a couple episodes where we picked our own movie picks, and it seems like you guys really like that and kind of gravitates towards that. So we're continuing that with 90s. Now, these are not our absolute top 5 movies of the
Like,
90s.
yeah,
These
it's
are
not the
just
best all.
these are bangers. These are movies that we really thoroughly enjoyed, and we're going to look at each other's picks, and we're going to throw shade, we're going to throw judgment, we might even throw a little bit of praise. The 80s one, I shocked the hell out of Dre with all my picks, well,
He
with the exception of
really,
one.
he really did, folks. Like I cannot lie. Dave picked some bangers. Like I can't argue any of them.
Yeah, you notice how the way he says it makes it sound like I am not capable of picking out bangers. Wow.
I,
Jeez.
that OD throwing some shade right there,
Ah,
folks.
well, guys, let's get right to it. Now, as you guys have noticed, this is a pre-recorded stream. Due to well, again, like Dre was talking about, time and scheduling is a very in-demand commodity. Uh, I currently have a new work schedule that has me working nights now. So I'm not able to do any live streams presently, at least not for foreseeable future, but hopefully that'll change. But these streams, the videos we're recording ahead of time, and they will be airing on 7 p.m. Eastern on Wednesdays on both the Outer Dimensions podcast, the Collector Safe Space, and of course at Dave's Dimension on our respective channels. But we are talking the pick of the 90s. These are 5 movies and one honorable mention that are just movies that we really thoroughly enjoy and love the hell out, that just came out in the 90s, and they just, they hit us in nostalgia. So let's go to our first pick. Are you ready, Dre?
I am ready.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, Outer Dimensions podcast proudly presents
The
Our 90s picks.
90s.
And if you don't like it, we got 2 words for you. Enjoy it.
Kick rocks.
Okay, so Dre's pick
Obviously.
hour.
Oof, oof. Dave, man, picking a banger. But I mean, Rush Hour. For me, Rush Hour quintessentially was one of those films. I remember I was in college. One of my friends who I was playing Dungeons and Dragons with, we cut school one day, which is not. I'm not condoning to do that. We cut college, and yeah, paid to go to
Cutting
school, but
class in college. I've never heard of that before.
yeah, I
Jeez,
know.
you
Like we
outlaw
just
you.
yeah, we dipped out of class and we went to the movies and we saw Rush Hour, and we were laughing the entire time. Love Chris Tucker, love Jackie Chan. Great hodgepodge of comedy, action, martial arts, just all around, just an amazing movie. I mean, it's quintessentially '90s, and I mean, it did have a franchise, and it's going to have a fourth film due out, I think, later this year or next year. And there was talks of a television series that was going to be picked up by one of the big ones, either Netflix or Amazon.
You know what's great though? I mean, this movie was long overdue. I'm not saying the movie itself, but what it did. It kind of revitalized and brought Jackie Chan back to the West because he was kind of missing for a long time. Unless you were an avid action movie fan, you of course would see Rumble in the Bronx and Project. I mean, you know, there's so many different movies. I mean, he's been making movies for decades, but he never really got the, what's the word I'm looking for? The mass market, the
The
pop market
recognition.
recognition. But then of course he does Rush Hour, Chris Tucker. Everyone's blown away. They can see that he can do comedy, he can do action. He's great. I mean, after this, we also had the Shanghai series of movies,
Shanghai Noon,
Nine Nights,
Shanghai
Yeah,
Nights,
with Owen
Owen
Wilson.
Wilson. Hmm.
But yeah, like even after the Rush Hour movies, even Chris Tucker kind of like faded to obscurity for a good hot minute. You know,
Which was very odd for the time because you didn't expect them as wildly popular as they were from these from the trilogy that came out of this movie, which is
yes,
now going to be a quadrology because we're getting the fourth one. But you
you
expected
just like
more.
using big words.
I do, and it makes me sound more intelligent. And for the amount of money my parents and I paid for
Than he is.
college, you know, I gotta use those big words. But yeah, I mean, like, but your pick. See, here's a funny thing.
Another Chris Tucker movie.
Another Chris Tucker film. But here's the thing. When you think of Friday, you think of damn, and you go, she got knocked the F out, and Debo. Debo, may he rest in peace. R.I.P. Zeus. You
Janet
know,
Jackson looked more like Freddie Jackson.
I mean, there are so many lines that you can
Hey, hey,
draw
hey,
from this. And this
hey,
was another franchise that
big, big
did a
perm.
trilogy.
I mean, big worm.
I mean, this was actually a jumping off point for several actors that and comedians that
I mean,
we
like,
have seen now.
I mean, come on, you never saw Ice Cube in a comedy,
Yeah.
you know? I mean, yeah, we saw him, we saw him in several other films, but I mean, like, this was a straight up comedy. Yeah, Tiny Lester Jr., aka Zeus. I mean,
Debo,
John Witherspoon.
R.I.P. Another
Because I
R.I.P.
mean, not just from Friday, but I mean, he was Pops on the Wayans.
He's Pops on the Waynes. He was the
I
voice
mean,
of Grandpops on
on Boondock,
Boondocks.
yeah.
You can't you got like there's so much to his character.
Uh, I remember when he was in Boomerang with Eddie Murphy.
Oh Lord, I forgot about Boomerang too. Look at that. You hitting me, man. Dang, man. Dave going back.
So,
Dave hitting it on the old school. Like, let's go
hey,
old school.
the '90s and the '80s were my jam. What are you talking about? But I mean,
I'm
like,
not
I mean,
I ain't arguing.
this is just another fun movie that just like you and your boy just hanging out on the stoop, hanging out on the step, just you ain't got no job, you ain't got nothing to do. It's just one of those movies, man. And it was disappointing that we didn't get Chris Tucker back for the sequels. But
that was kind of a downer. I ain't gonna lie.
they got rid of Smokey and they gave us Day Day.
Yeah, and Day Day did Day Day put in the work. I'll give it to him.
Omar Epps, playing Day Day, just, and I think that was a blessing for him because I mean he's a funny man, but he didn't get any recognition until he was in the Friday movies because he even springboarded into the Resident Evil series of movies.
That's
Now
that was
that was
surprising in and of itself.
and honestly, he was just kind of like playing in a more elaborate, a little bit more established version of Day Day, basically. It's more
Pretty
like,
much.
it's like, look at my shit. My shit's custom. Uh,
But I
but I
mean,
mean,
again,
that's
you could say it best. I mean, the film series that both of these are franchises that did trilogies. Friday really was,
Friday, next Friday, Friday after next.
and then you had Rush Hour 1, 2, and 3. Now
Yep.
Rush Hour 4. And I mean, like I
Could we
said, the
see
potential
another
for
Friday coming through the pipeline? Who knows?
I would believe a remake would probably be. I wouldn't mind seeing a remake of Friday, like a
Uh,
remake, a little bit more kind of
no, no. This is what
in
you
that
do.
vein.
You have Craig, Ice
His
Cube
kids,
character.
yeah, his
Like
kids.
it's like his kids that are wiling out,
See, I would like that. Like that actually be kind of funny.
and
I mean,
you could get Cube's son
who's actually killing it in
who looks
Hollywood,
like who looks like him.
and well, you'd hope your son looks like you.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, my son looks like me. My daughter looks like me. So
I don't
I'm
know.
a win. That's a win.
I don't know. Maybe Mr. Johnson found out that Mr. Johnson's kid was,
I mean,
hey, Miss Johnson.
exactly. Hey, Miss Johnson. Oh God. Uh, Again, folks, one of these are the it's one of those films that when you watch it, you just
But
it's cinematic gold.
as someone who I grew up in the east side of Buffalo, which is hood. Okay, let's be honest. Um, when that one tough guy comes around the way, or you get some shifty person come around the way, yeah, it's time to hide your good stuff because you don't want nobody knowing you got anything. I mean, it was a real movie. Like Felicia the Hype. It was like, yo, Craig, can I borrow your car? Can I borrow,
Mhm.
can I borrow your VCR? No, you need to borrow your ass a job. That's what you need to borrow. I mean, I knew
Facts.
people like that. I mean, we all knew people. This was a relatable, funny ass movie. Okay.
It really
It was
was.
just, I mean, it was just like, it just was, man. I mean, you even had Nia Long. Remember when she was
I
Will
mean
Smith's
that
girlfriend on Fresh Prince?
oof. Nia Long, she's established herself.
Bernie Mac.
I mean, R.I.P. to B Mac.
I mean, we had a lot of great people in here. So let's move on to the next one. See what
Let's
Dre says
see.
about my picks.
I mean,
Dre
banger
went
of a
with
film.
Scream. Dre went
Ba-
with Scream,
I, I,
which is my favorite of the series, honestly.
Now, mind you, Scream is iconic for '90s horror.
It flipped the
If you're
script.
talking
It was
exactly,
a booster in the arm for horror movies. Let's
yes,
be
because
honest.
when you look at '80s, the '80s was the slasher films, the Nightmare on Elm Street, your Friday the 13th, your Halloween.
Yep.
Scream took the slasher flick and turned it into a 7 film, possibly 8 if they can get
Listen,
things right, an
Scream
8 film series.
Scream took horror movies at the time, smacked it around, and called it Susan. Okay, that's what they did to the movies because yeah, movies were getting played out. I mean, I love don't get me wrong, I love Freddy Krueger. I love me some Jason movies. But after a while, like those movies weren't being made anymore. And we were seeing like, oh, there's this slasher film. Everything was just overly predictable. Thankfully, Scary Movie came out in their franchise, making fun of all the different horror movies and the subplots within them. But this was something new. We had, I mean, come on, hot ass cast right there. With I mean, you get Drew Barrymore in the beginning. You get, of course, Nev Campbell. she's still one of my crushes. I ain't gonna lie. Uh, I mean, you had Rose McGowan was in there.
She's
R-
gorgeous.
Yeah, and I love how she gets killed through the little doggy door in the garage door.
That was terrible. But it was it
Da-
was it was it was enough to make you appreciate bad horror. Good horror
David
is
Arquette is the hapless like Deputy
Courtney Cox,
Dewey.
who is his wife at the time,
Yeah,
and then
and
they get
and they
divorced. I forgot they got divorced around Scream
they're
4 or
divorced,
5.
but they're on good terms though.
Mhm.
So I mean, that's always good to see. Skeet Ulrich. I mean, we had
Who
so
is still involved in the franchise
yep.
after 20 years.
Jamie
20
Kennedy was hilarious as Randy. I mean,
I
we
mean, it's
had
just
so many great people in here, and it's just it's awesome. I mean, like it kept you guessing, and it was hilarious to hear someone say out loud the rules of a movie to survive.
and it's something that's carried into
Yes,
other franchises as well as into the belief of just horror movies in general. So again, my pick, iconic of the 90s. It was again it said it rewrote it didn't rewrite, but like I think Dave said it best. It was a booster shot in the arm for the horror franchises
yes.
because this
Uh,
this
the
was
way,
needed.
yeah, the way thrillers or the way horror movies went. This was like it was making things more cerebral. I mean, it was years later we would get movies like Saw,
And that's a
stuff
franchise
stuff
we have to talk
stuff
about.
that freaks you the hell out. I mean, this movie, it wasn't anything supernatural. It
No.
was just a really messed up
It's a
plot.
sla it's exactly what I said it was. It rewrote the slasher genre and gave horror the booster shot it needed.
And I you know what my favorite line in this movie is, right?
What's your favorite scary movie?
No.
What's up? No, those are for people
No,
that
that
have
was
watched it.
scary movies.
Exactly, that's for the
No,
scary
no,
movie
no.
guys, so I had to do it.
What's your excuse? Peer pressure?
Oh god, I remember that.
Uh,
So, I mean, Dave's
without
choice.
giving it away in case anyone out there has not seen this movie, I don't wanna spoil it for you,
No, let's not spoil
but
it. We're just we watch it. If you haven't
it's
watched it, watch it.
and
That's what we'll
and you
say.
know what? If you saw it when it first came out, because I remember seeing it in the theaters. I
Did I
remember
see it?
seeing it in the theater. I was working at the roller rink, way back when, and I went with my coworkers and the one of the owners. She treated us to like concessions and stuff. For, like, we're like 17, 18-year olds. We're going to see this movie, and one of the assistant managers came with us too. He was someone who is larger than life, personality wise. Like people are, because you ever go to a horror movie, you see someone being stabbed. He's cracking up like it's the funniest damn thing in the world.
Oh, it's been me.
And just I'm cracking up like I'm like I sat a few rows back because I know how he was. And like when the snack bar girls was sitting with me, she's like, why don't you sit up there with everyone else? I was like, see Sean up there? Just wait until people just wait. She sees him jumping around, his arms waving around like there's no tomorrow. She's like, why would he act like that? I'm like, some people really enjoy the movies, they just let themselves go and just go crazy. Everyone else
Sometimes you do.
everyone else is like dipping down in their seats like we don't want to be seen, but it's a good time. But like this is just like this is like one of those movies you just like it just hell yeah. Just hell yeah. I mean, it's that booster shot. It kind of like rewrote the genre,
It
or
really did.
it created its own chapter. But then there's my pick,
Which I'm
and
not gonna.
which is also psychological if you think about it.
It's completely, and I'm gonna state this very honestly. It is a hell of a great book. Polniak, if I've not remember, Chuck Polniak is the guy who wrote the book series because it's actually a series of books. Who wrote this? And if you guys have not watched this film, it is the biggest mind f. Like
Well,
you're
I mean,
watching
it's a David Fincher film, so yeah.
exactly, and I loved it. I mean, I've Brad Pitt kills it. Ed Norton, two
Both
fantastic actors.
and who else?
Helen Bonham Carter,
Yes.
because we all love her. She plays
She's
crazy.
fucking
She's
insane.
she's crazy and she does it well. And this movie is all about that. Like it is
She is so the poster child for craziness.
she really
Like,
is.
could you imagine, just for sidebar, just for a moment, could you imagine if she had played a variation of Harley Quinn?
I mean
I'm
Bellatrix.
just saying.
I'm just saying Bellatrix.
I'm
That's all I'm gonna say. I'm gonna
just
go like
saying.
this. Bellatrix. Drop my mic.
But
I mean,
I'm
hands
just
down,
saying.
hands down. I mean, Fight Club.
I
You
mean
don't talk about Fight Club.
I mean, this was the greatest thing, and the twist of it all, when you find out the twist, and I'm not gonna say anything about that, but when you find out the twist, it really messes you up in your head. You're like, "Oh, whoa." I
And
mean, it's
this is
I
what
don't wanna give it away because 'cause I'm sure there
I
are
know.
a lot of people who haven't seen this movie. This is a movie, if you're a cinephile like Dre, someone who
You need
loves
to
and
see it.
adores films in different genres of films,
You need to
and
see it.
just the acting, the execution, the writing, the adaptation of the screenplay from the book.
The
I mean,
cinematography alone actually
yeah,
is
I
something
mean,
huge to the eye.
it
It's very eye
it's not
catching.
one of those it's not one of those bright films. It's one of those very dark, seated in reality type films. And it is just that. It is a fight club, you know? You get one person who, he meets someone on a airplane, they get talking, and they come across there's a series of circumstances that lead to a fight club being formed. And it's the hush hush, first rule of Fight Club, nobody talks about Fight Club, and you get all these people, like you get a Meatloaf, Marvin Lee Day, known as the 70s, 80s rock singer Meatloaf, is in this movie, but he plays like an over exaggerated heavyset person, which years later he slimmed down like there was no tomorrow, but he played this very heavyset person, and he played it to a T. And it was Fight Club was about people could go, they could fight whatever frustrations they had, they could beat the living shit out of each other. And then
It
at the end of the
actually
fight, after the fight was over, they shook hands. They're brothers. I mean, you could have brought your boss in and beat the living shit out of him, but because it's Fight Club, he cannot retaliate to you in any shape or form. It was a crazy, insane concept, but so many people still make references to Fight Club to this very day.
and it's what 30 years later.
Yeah.
And like I said, this is a book series, so there is a novel series, and there is also a graphic novel based on the novel series.
Well, it is very graphic.
Well, well, duh, but the graphic novel is tied to the novel and the novel series. It's worth the read, definitely worth the watch. I worked at Barnes and Noble during grad school.
25 years only.
25 years old.
This came
So,
out at the end of the decade, 1999.
so I would tell you guys, there's been Hot Toys made of Brad Pitt's character.
Tyler
There
Durden.
of Tyler Durden, and we have. I think that's the only thing. I don't think we had Ed Norton's character, but Tyler Durden's character. There's been a Hot Toy. I know
So
So Toys
that's
made
probably the
one.
only action figure ever
Yeah.
created for Brad Pitt then.
hmm No, that's not true.
Is there
There's one from Mr. and Mrs. Smith that was done by a
okay.
third party company, but I think it was like So Toys. I can't remember.
Oh,
And there was
by the
another
way,
one for
I
Inglorious
found out
Bastards.
I found out that there was an adaptation of Mr. and Mrs. Smith that goes back to
Yes,
the
Amazon.
90s. Nope,
Oh,
goes back to the 90s. And guess who it starred? Scott Bakula.
interesting. I gotta check that out
I'm
because
trying to I just read this today, and I was like, Mother,
because Daniel Glover just did it, just started the Amazon series,
yeah.
and I
But
didn't know about that. So that's
I'm like,
interesting. I gotta check that out with Scott Bakula. Go
yeah.
figure. Quantum Leap, our boy from Quantum Leap,
Well, he did, was it Masters of Illusion?
Masters of Illusion. He's been in Star Trek Enterprise. We got a whole bunch. We can
Yeah,
go down the
well,
list.
I mean, he's always gonna be Sam.
Yeah,
He's
he's
always gonna
always
be Sam to me,
he'll
so
always be. But so let's hit the next ones.
Okay, give me 1 second. I'm just checking something out, and we'll proceed because I am a weirdo.
He is.
Hey, at least I admit to it.
I'm glad you do.
Let's see here. Yeah, there was one season in 1996. Scott Bakula. And let me see who's opposite of him. I'm trying to find out. Uh, I'll look that up. Oh, Maria Bello
Hmm.
from Coyote Ugly and quite a few
Yeah.
other films. So yeah, that's interesting.
Very
Oh, and,
much.
and Timothy Olyphant was in there.
Timothy Oliphant. No. Wow.
Let's see here.
Getting
Roy
some names.
Dotrice. Yeah, there's good actors in there. Wow, heavy. Oh, Keith David,
I
Kelly
knew Keith.
who?
I knew Keith David, but Kelly who?
Yeah,
That's an interesting one too.
Larry Thomas, Soup Nazi.
Get out.
Yeah, I'm just going through some of the names here. Sorry about the sidebar, guys. We kind of had to, but yeah, well, I'm gonna have to look that up at a later time. So
So
our
let's go
next
number
pick
3.
three.
Ooh, okay. See, Dave can't be. See, I can't get mad at Dave, man. He's picking bangers that I would pick, that I did think about too. So obviously, my pick, probably one of my absolute favorite films of the '90s. I remember going to see it my with a childhood friend and his brother. We went to go see it, and Bad Boys. I mean, it's Bad Boys. It's Martin Lawrence, Will Smith, Taya Leone. I had a crush on Taya Leone. She was gorgeous, and she still is. You know, but it was like back then she was the hot little white girl that was trying to be in the midst of the two brothers who
Well,
one's
yeah,
the
but
ideal cop
she was
and
she was really known for the blonde hair, but because she had the jet black hair,
oh, she was great
it
looking as
was
a brunette, as with the brunette or the dark with the raven hair.
eh,
She's I like her. I like her with that. But you got Will Smith, who's the playboy cop who's
yeah,
comes from money, and you got Martin Lawrence, who's the cop who grew up and they both went to school together, and
but
they
he's the
you
comic
know.
relief.
But
Let's
he's
be
the
honest.
Martin Lawrence is the comic relief, where you got Will Smith being like your sex appeal. It's
Yeah,
hilarious. It is a great take. For me, it is the perfect blending of these two
I mean
actors who
Don Simpson and Jerry Bruckheimer.
I mean, again, well, Bruckheimer, a lot of
Yeah,
us don't like Bruckheimer because he did Pirates of the Caribbean, and a lot of people were mad at that. But we're not going to get into that. That's a whole
I
different
actually liked
discussion.
I like the Pirates of the
And I
Caribbean
love
movies
I love the
personally, but
Pirates movies as well.
um, the soundtrack though, banger of a soundtrack.
Oh,
I
banger!
mean, from Kamikaze, we have Shy Guy. I mean, even the instrumental score was just, I mean, I could just jam out to it. I mean, the whole soundtrack, they throw
UB40's
in
Bad
Juke Joint
Boy.
Jezebel is on the soundtrack. I mean, they have so many. It's just a big, nice. It was a nice, perfect blend of everything.
So let's just
And
laugh. The Cops
Joey
theme song.
Pants,
Joey Pants being I mean, he made it all the way. Well, I'm not gonna say anything. Joey Pants is in this movie series. He's in the series of 1, 2, and 3
yeah,
because there was 3, and there is actually going to be a fourth one called Bad Boys for Life. It's the it's actually no, there was Bad Boys 1, 2, 3, and then
Wusa.
I'm trying to remember. Wait, the next film, which is already slated, I think, for next year.
Is it Bad Boys Afterlife? What?
It's they said it was going to be. Well, I don't want to go into it, but there's a character in the third film that we get an extra credit scene for, and there's a hint that Will Smith will be. It'll be Will Smith and this character making it to the next film, and possibly Martin Lawrence will bow out. That's a possibility, but I don't
I'll,
know. I haven't heard.
all I'm gonna say is if they bow him out, via a gunshot wound, there's gonna be words. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, especially how Bad Boys 3 went. So I'm not gonna go there. But other than that, Bad Boys 3, yeah, Bad Boys 3 was called Bad Boys for Life, which was a great tagline for the movie. Even though it's not the fourth film, it's the third film. But hey, I'll take what I can get. There was actually a mini series that people didn't realize, which was with
Are you
Martin
talking?
Lawrence's sister
It
and
was
Jessica
produced by
Alba.
Spectrum, actually,
Yeah,
and Jessica
so
Alba. Yep.
and that was the spinoff that did 2 seasons and sadly got canceled, but it was
Yes.
actually a spinoff series tied to the franchise. So for those of you that are diehard fans, keep loving it.
You want to
Hopefully
do the
we get
deep
it back.
dive? You go there.
That's how, and it actually they make mention of these movies in the TV show.
Yeah.
So I mean, but your choice again. It's a Stallone film. How do you go wrong? It's
I
Wesley Snipes. How do you
it's
go wrong?
I mean, come on, it's Demolition Man. I mean, you going from cops who, things get destroyed wherever they go to the Demolition Man himself. And I mean, I can't fault you for Bad Boys because the soundtrack is banger. It's perfect comedy.
I
When
can't fault you for this movie because it's
when
freaking fire.
Will Smith and Martin Lawrence have to trade places and pretend to be each other, which is freaking hilarious.
Oh,
The action scenes in here, like, Martin
oh, I thought
Lawrence
that was your lover. I thought that was your lover. No,
it's
no,
like, well,
no. That no, no. We boys. We boys.
Martin Lawrence gets shot in the leg. Will Smith's like,
I'm Mike
man, you
Lowry.
you 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 your driving got a hell of a lot better since you got shot in that leg. And I love what Martin Lawrence is doing. He starts to recite the Miranda rights. He's like, Will Smith's like, "What the hell are you doing?" "I'm getting it out of the way."
Yeah, exactly.
That was bad.
It was a great line. There
That
are
was
so many great
badass.
one-liners and great stuff. It is a solid film series that does well and it does well in
Will
its
Smith
sequels.
running the bad guys down on foot.
Bad Boys 2. I can just tell you, Bad Boys 2.
Woosah.
Me and my brother have made jokes about this when we played. We used to play Destiny, and we'd be like, "Se fue un tiro, mommy. He killed himself. I sent a letter to his mother." I mean, folks. I mean, that's in the second one. So if you just so you all know, like I love this series, and then Dave's Demolition Man.
Uh,
Damn,
I mean, Demolition Man, I mean, those that don't know, long story short, Stallone is a cop and he is nicknamed the Demolition Man because when he takes bad guys down, he destroys everything around him. Okay. He goes after Wesley Snipes' character. He captures him, but Wesley Snipes rigged this building up and kills all these hostages. And of course, it's blamed on Sylvester Stallone. He's a cop and he is then sentenced to prison along with obviously Wesley Snipes. But it's a new kind of prison where you get frozen. Basically, you're turned into an ice cube for 20,
cryostasis.
30, 40, 50, whatever years. And what happens is Wesley Snipes is thought out for a parole hearing and he actually escapes. Police at that time don't know what to do with a criminal as brutal, as raw, uncontainable as Wesley Snipes is because now the future, let's be honest, everyone's just like happy go lucky Mr. Rogers type. They don't know how to handle a fight or a punch. So they figure, hey, let's do everything in our power. Let's get a cop from that time of Wesley Snipes era and thaw him out. And we can reinstate him temporarily so we can try and capture him. Well, they thaw out Sylvester Stallone. There's a lot of comedy. You get Rob Schneider in there.
Sandra
Uh,
Bullock.
we 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 still don't know how to work the three seashells.
And to this
You
day,
know,
if you figured that out, folks, you are better than us.
let us know. And you can let us know at the Outer Dimensions Podcast at gmail.com.
Hmm.
Sandra Bullock she's kind of the exception to the rule as far as cops because she has romanticized I don't want to say the corruption, but the brutality,
That's
the
she
the
was more of
the
the
action
action junkie.
genre. Yes. And like she's got movie posters in her apartment, including Action Jackson. Again, Carl Weathers. We love you and rest in heaven. Um, I mean, she is like everything in her apartment is would be considered contraband, so to speak, because this is a futuristic society where nobody swears, nobody litters, nobody does graffiti. everything is pretty much outlawed, including red meat and anything pleasurable, including
The fast food
swapping
wars.
saliva. Yeah. Apparently, you can't even have a kid unless you get a permit.
Yeah,
Uh,
that was very.
yeah, that was weird.
That was actually very tied to what was going on in
Yeah,
Asia at the time, because a
yeah.
lot of people don't realize that up until
Population explosion.
about the 80s, the 70s, and the late 70s into the 60s and 70s and 80s, there was a lot of issues with the population development in Asia and China
Yeah,
mostly, and now they're suffering from the decline. Almost 50 years later, they're starting to see issues. But this is not a political channel. Just giving you that little bit of
yeah.
tidbit of knowledge because that's what I have my degree in.
But of course, Sylvester Stallone, he's got his own brand of justice. He's been in the rules where he's getting like cited for like so many demerits for cursing left and right. And he's like, "Go fuck yourself, motherfucker, shit, ass." He's just doing it just to be a prick.
And get the
Uh,
toilet paper.
yeah. I mean, it's this is fish out of water action movie. you know, and the two obviously they're going to go head to head, and they are brutal when they do it. But highlight of this film, other than of course, Sylvester Stallone dealing with all the chaos of the future, or should I say the lack of, Dennis friggin' Leary was
That was a
amazing
great
in
one.
this.
Yeah, Leary
He
was
was
very well done.
he's kind of a rebel leader of the underground that actually live underground, and Phoenix is basically broken out of prison, so to speak, to kill him, to play to kill Dennis Leary, whose name is Edgar Friendly. I mean, even in the future, they got like wussy kind of names. Edgar Friendly. Jeez, please. But Dennis Leary, of course, in true Dennis Leary fashion, he does one of his own Dennis Leary speeches about eating red meat and smoking and doing all kinds of stuff until till you completely die. It's awesome. This is a fun, awesome movie. It's got a nice sci-fi element. We got self-driving cars. Um,
What kind of
it's
burger is
just
this? A rat burger.
a rat.
What kind
Well,
of what kind of meat
it's
was it? Eso
pretty
carne de
good.
raton. It's pretty good. Eso carne de raton means rat meat. It's a rat burger.
And I mean, the action in here, and I've kind of felt chemistry with Stallone and Sandra Bullock, kind of, which was kind of weird. This is
Uh,
like somewhat,
she's been in a couple of action movies. Don't forget Speed.
yeah. Well, with Keanu, I mean,
Miss
come on,
and Miss Congeniality.
yeah. Which also co-starred her co-star from this movie, Benjamin Bratt.
See, so
See,
there's a
there,
so
there
there
might be
I
little something,
there might have
something.
been See, I have
Yeah,
my knowledge. I know some
I
things.
hide the burrito. I don't know. But I
Ayo.
mean, this this is just like Dre said. This is a banger. This is a banger of a movie. If you want a movie that's not going to make sense and just have explosions and mindless violence everywhere, Demolition Man's your guy. I even remember the soundtrack. They had a Sting did the cover the actual, because this is back in the 90s when the theme song, the name of the movie had to be the theme song. And Sting did
That's
this song
true.
called The Demolition Man. He rocks it out. What can we say? But yeah, you get a blonde haired Wesley Snipes that looks like a reject from Meteor Man. Remember the Golden Lords?
Damn. Dave just be hitting that people with the with the damn
Am I
Dave.
wrong?
Not no, it's you're not wrong. It's just it's so funny because it's so true. It's sad.
I mean, like, and the thing is, like, he when he breaks out of prison, he's wearing like the prison uniform or the prison like technician clothing, which just looks like a jumper with like an orange shirt. I mean, he almost looks like he could have been like a evil, demonic looking Chucky growed up.
That's true.
But I mean, it's you get nonstop action. This, if you want 90s mindless violence, this is it. I mean, the tagline right there. The 20th century most wanted or most dangerous cop. and the 21st century's most ruthless criminal. There you go. The future isn't big enough for the both of them. Great 90s taglines right there. And speaking of tags, let's tag forward. Dre picked Fifth Elements. Okay.
Now there's a
That
now understand this, folks. When I say movies of the '90s that would be quintessentially probably the best movies of the '90s, this is number one on that list because this hits on every bell ever. It is a sci-fi movie, an action movie, a comedy movie. It has got elements of drama. It has got elements of suspense. It has great, just it is all around. I think one of the best films of the '90s, if not probably. Well, I mean, it's one of the best sci-fi films in that it's in the top 10 of sci-fi films, top 5 of sci-fi films.
and
But
it's another Chris Tucker movie.
it's another Chris Tucker movie. Is Ruby Riot, and I mean Mila Jovovich was in this. Bruce Willis,
Yeah.
I mean, you have a Debo was in this movie. Let's not forget
Again, yes.
Debo was the
Him and Chris
general.
Tucker, yeah.
You
It was
get,
a
you get
little it was Friday
always,
reunion, you know,
you know. So you have Gary Oldman. I mean,
who
amazing
who
actor in
who
of
who play
himself.
who plays Laurie Zorg. You know, he's got that kind of like almost southern kind of accent going on when he's talking like this.
Which he did that in Tinker Soldier. There's a whole,
Sailor, yeah,
yeah, you know what I mean. That movie that he
yeah,
plays like a southerner in it. They does a great job. Fantastic film. Probably one of the most popular scenes of the film that people have talked
yeah,
about
yeah.
is
Come on,
this.
my man.
Well, no, well, that there is, like I said, Ruby Riot, but I think the scene that everybody remembers that YouTube videos people watch is the acapella singing that
Yes,
that the I forgot her name, that the blue alien, when she sings and she belts out some of the most beautiful operatic music to like a
yep,
hit to like a rock kind of synthesized beat, folks. It
yeah,
is iconic. Nobody touches it. I've never seen it done in any other movie, save musicals,
yeah.
but this.
I mean, it's impossible to do that in real life, but she got pretty damn close. I remember the behind the scenes, and yes, I am such a nerd that I do have this soundtrack. I was a DJ once upon a time, so yes, I was a big nerd. I had the soundtracks. I mean, just the regular instrumentals. I mean, just the score of the soundtrack itself is beyond insane. I think it was Trevor. I want to say Trevor Rabin,
I would have to look up because I
who
don't remember.
he did Armageddon. I want to say he did this one too.
Armageddon. That's another. I swear that's another movie that probably could have made this list too.
But I mean, the whole movie is just insane. I love, you got you know, Corbin Dallas, Bruce Willis. He's just trying to be a taxi driver. He's running out of demerits. Then this perfect fare falls in. Mila Jovovich. Insane.
I mean, hands down, folks. Again,
No, it was
iconic.
Eric Serra. That was the composer of the film. Eric Serra, he's got a lot of really great hits. That was off of Virgin Records. I'm trying to see who played the diva because that was the character's name.
Yeah, Diva. Thank you, Diva. I couldn't remember it, but thank you.
Uh, Mywin Lebesco. Uh, Perhaps best known to film goers as the singing voice of the diva Plava Laguna, played on screen by Mawin Lebesca. Yeah, apparently that was her claim to fame. Was that? Um,
Hey, that's a hell of a claim to fame.
but I thought she was an actual singer. I think she was a singer for a good while, but she was a short-term actress too. She did a lot of stuff with Luke Besson.
Luc Besson. And if
Yeah.
you guys don't know Luc Besson, he is famous for his French films, District B13, and he did the Taken series. He
Yep.
did he did Lucy with her girl Scarlett Joe.
Didn't he do
Um,
one of the Transporter movies, I think, too?
he did the Transporter series of movies. He had his hand in the Transporter television series, as well. Did Luc Besson had his hand in the uh, oh god, not Transporter. It was the other film series, the one with Iko Uwais. The that was oh god, why can't I remember the name of the movie? I literally was watching them recently.
What was it about?
Uh, if you haven't seen it, you wouldn't know it. No offense. I don't think you've seen it. Why
Excuse
can't I
the
remember?
frack out of me.
I love you, man. I don't think you've seen it. That's the Raid series.
Yeah, I've seen those, motherfucker.
You have? I didn't know. There's a lot. Listen.
See,
There's a lot of films
this is
that
what
I've seen that
happens.
I think that people don't see. And Iko Uwais, who I love as an actor, a lot of people haven't seen The Raid because it's not subtitled. It was Indonesian, and he's done several movies that have appeared on Netflix, like that have been graphic novel serialized, and and he was also in Triple Threat, which is a great movie with several great actors. But I'm not going to go down the list. That's just Luc Besson has done a lot. Sorry to go down that rabbit hole with you folks. That's how you know I'm a
Luke
cinephile
Perry
nerd.
was in there too,
R.I.P. to Luke Perry.
and Ian Holm was the priest, the father that was trying to protect Lee Luna.
The Night Comes for Us, folks, was the name of the
Yeah,
Netflix TV series.
Ian Holm, which you might recall from the first Alien movie.
Yes, I do.
Is that there?
He, I remember them. I remember. So that's my choice. But then again, see, look, Dave picks, and this movie always tugs at my heartstrings because I absolutely love everything about it. It's like this is like the inspiration for the Orville, and I'm not
Galaxy
gonna.
Quest, honestly, it was
It's a
making
guilty
fun
pleasure.
of Star Trek and Star Trek fans, but it wound up being beloved by Star Trek fans. And
Um,
some people even said that this was put together better than, some Star Trek writers could even do. I mean, this was basically think of Star Trek, but think of like what if some aliens came to Earth and they needed help. So they looked up Leonard Nimoy, William Shatner, DeForest Kelly, Nichelle Nichols, and say, "Hey, we need your help." And they built a replica of the Enterprise. That's kind of the concept. In Galaxy Quest, you have Tim Allen and, of course, Sigourney Weaver, Alan Rickman. They were actors of a Star Trek type show called Galaxy Quest, where and now they just make appearances at Comic Cons. They don't always get along with the lead Tim Allen, which is very much the story with William Shatner and his co-stars, those that are still with us and those who are not. Um, and there's that whole thing where like he talks to he talks his co-stars, his former co-stars, like, hey, there's this great appearance we really should do, but it's really them going to into space. He's just happy to have and someone giving him attention.
ain't that the
And
truth?
they go there like Alan Rickman's in full makeup, and they find that there's a ship full of humanoid looking aliens that they built the ship from scratch because they put it together by watching historical records, their episodes transmitted through radio waves through space. And it's just like they don't know what the hell to do. They don't know how to do anything.
We need
Chill
your help.
Chill Mitchell is in here, and this was before he had his, sadly his car accident that, immobilized him from the waist down, which thankfully has not stopped him from acting because he's been tremendous on Fear the Walking Dead
Yes.
as someone as a person as a physically impaired person in the zombie apocalypse. So, it's a good watch if you're into zombie stuff. Not so humdrum as The Walking Dead was in its later years, but Sigourney Weaver. as Tawny,
The
you
late
know,
great Alan Rickman.
Tony Shalhoub.
Tony Shalhoub did such a great job.
Are we forgetting anyone else?
Tim Allen, obviously.
I said Tim Allen.
I mean,
Someone with the first name Sam.
Sam Neill. No, Sam. Oh God, why can't I remember his name? He's been in so many great things. He played in Iron Man
Green
in Iron Man
Mile,
2.
Iron Man
Iron Man 2.
2.
God, why can't I remember your name? Your last name.
He's in the new movie Argyle.
He was God. Why is it? I'm
Hitchhiker's Guide
Sam
to the
Rockwell.
Galaxy.
Rockwell, thank you.
Yep,
Justin Long, I forgot he was in that movie too. He plays one of
yeah,
the nerds.
yep,
Rainn Wilson.
yep,
I didn't even realize he's got a lot of negative things with him in Hollywood.
yeah.
But
But I
Sam
mean,
Rockwell is amazing.
so imagine if you took the cast of Star Trek and you put them on a real ship and they actually have to fight battles and save an alien race. That's pretty much what happens here. And it's nonstop hilarity. It is friggin' hilarious. Like, like Tommy, Chill Mitchell's character, uh, he's like, I don't know how to fly this thing. And Tim
And he
Allen,
has to watch the
Ti-
historical records.
yeah, yeah. Tim Allen's like, they built this, they designed it by watching you. So it's kind of like imagine Will Wheaton of Star Trek: The Next Generation. And it's like, well, I can't fly a real ship. Well, they designed it based on what you were doing. So, okay, I'll try to remember how I used to pretend to fly the ship originally. And it's hilarious. I mean, it's friggin' phenomenal. I've heard Star Trek actors and fans say that they absolutely adore this movie. If Alan Rickman hadn't passed, there was talks about bringing it back, but
That was a very big thing. I had heard lots of people wanted this movie to get a sequel.
there's a
There was
documentary on Amazon. If anyone wants that deep dive, they talk about making it, but they also talk about how the fans have just. I mean, it's just hilarious. It's insane, but it's like, hey, they make fun of Star Trek, like and what's funny is like towards. I don't want to give anything away, but how like sometimes a show is gone for a long while and then it comes back. There's things like that. Um, there's hints of there's talks of fan fictions and what people think. Like if a show was, let's say a show was ended on a cliffhanger, you never knew what this thing might have done or what that thing would have done. They have those elements in there. What's at one point Justin Long's character is like, well, a lot of people think it's this, but I actually think that it's used for this purpose instead. And they play on that. Fans who break down fan theories and break down what they think is happening. I mean, this is a fun movie to geek out and just to think like, Jesus,
it's just a solid
this
movie. It's
it's
again,
it's
it's a piece of
special
cinema.
effects. Some of the special effects might be a little dated, but the comedy in here, just the insanity of it all is
It
just
really is
it's top
funny.
notch. And yeah, it makes you think like, hey, maybe this was an inspiration for Orville. Although
Oh,
Orville
it
in
was.
its later seasons,
Gets
oh
very serious,
yeah, it really does. It gets away from the comedy,
which I
which
liked it though. I like that though. It did well for that, and
yeah.
we could do a whole series on that
Well,
because I think it was
there's
great.
Orville itself is actually there's talks about that they're trying to still get a season 4 going. So if anybody can
I
do it, McFarlane can.
I mean, I definitely am not going to argue that I don't see another series, another season.
Yeah.
I definitely could see another season coming out of that. 100%. It's well done.
Okay, so those were our second picks. We're gonna move on to our honorable mentions, or mentions of honorables, however
Dimensions
you
of
want to say it.
honor. The mentions of honor, as Matt Hardy would
Yeah.
say.
Now, Dre's been liking my pick so far. Will he like my honorable mention?
Let's see. Let's see. Let me cry. I totally am on board with that pick. I'm a Star Trek fan, so I'm 100% on board.
But
Okay, so
let's talk about Crow first, though.
all right. Let me
One of
okay.
the greatest soundtracks of the '90s,
All right,
hands
he gets
down.
Dave's gonna go on the soundtrack.
No,
This
well,
movie
no, I'm starting
inspired.
with the soundtrack.
Well, no. We're gonna start with this, and here's why. I'm gonna step on his toes for this, and I don't like doing that, but I'm gonna step on his toes. This movie inspired me so much. My son is named after
Brandon.
Bruce Lee's son. That is how serious I love this film. The
No,
Crow
you just love
is
Bruce
iconic.
Lee, let's be honest.
Well, I do love Bruce Lee because I have the figure, but Brandon Lee. This movie was what my gateway to see his other works, if that makes sense, because a lot of people did not see his earlier stuff. And
Showdown in Little Tokyo?
Showdown in Little Tokyo, what
Rapid
was it?
Fire?
Rapid Fire and Laser Patrol or Laser Force.
Are you shocked I know those?
No, I'm not shocked because I know you're a fan, and I know that's why I know and I love you for it. But the fact that I saw those three films after this, and I grew to love Brandon Lee even more, that in my
Mhm.
later adult life, my firstborn was the name was Brandon Lee. Was going to be Brandon Lee Saunders. His name then became Brandon Lewis, named after my grandfather, my dad's father. So that's how serious this film for me is. So like my youngest is named Lorelai after Rory Gilmore from the Gilmore Girls. My daughter Lana is named after Lana Lang from Smallville.
And that shows
That's
you how much of a nerd he is.
well, and that's how my wife's more nerdy than me. So just to realize that.
Well,
So yes,
me, I love The Crow for other reasons.
it's a comic book. Well, it's also a great comic book film because it is
Well,
a comic book.
it is a comic book, but just going on a story alone, rock musician, who, his band looks like they might actually take off and do pretty well. Him and his girlfriend live in a very seedy area, but they want to have a unification ceremony, kind of a wedding. And right when they do this, bad guys come in because basically the whole block is supposed to be, like, they want to be
It's
cleared out.
chaos.
Yeah, it's just
There's
it's chaos
anarchy.
and
It's
insanity, and he is tossed out the window. He's brutally beaten and tossed out the window to die. We're not going to go into details of what happens to his lady, but let's just say she didn't survive the night.
and she's traumatized and
Yes.
died and
Yeah.
passes.
And what happens like a year later, he crawls out of his grave. He's not decomposed or anything. He's brought back as a vengeful spirit, empowered by the mythic abilities of the crow. And because we all know what a group of crow is,
A
a
murder.
murder. So he has risen to basically take down every single one of the bad guys responsible for killing him and his woman. Um, and he's not alone. Like, he actually, as he's doing this, a young girl who befriended both him and his girlfriend, is amazed that he's been brought back. But also the cop who stayed with his girlfriend the entire time until she died, played by
They,
Ernie
Ernie
Hudson,
Hudson.
my man. Uh he sees him. He's blown away. He's think it's impossible that, he's brought back. Eric Draven is dead, brought back from the dead, but he goes one by one, taking each of the bad guys out.
From Top
Eventually,
Dollar.
yep, eventually coming across the big bad, and they're using mysticism to basically try and take the powers away from him. And of course, who else is in the movie? Tony friggin' Todd. I mean, they got a lot of they got good people in here. I'm not gonna say great actors because there's only a few in here that are really great, but it's got an awesome story. There were sequels to it. I mean, the action in here is insane. Brandon Lee was phenomenal, and like, I'm sure Dre agrees. It's sad that, those that don't know, Brandon Lee died during one of the stunts
It was a
where
yeah,
it was
it was a botched stunt
a
that had
shotgun
a
that was supposed to be blank rounds, actually had real rounds and struck him. Some people
and
think it was the Lee family curse.
which there was some credence to because
Yeah.
of how Bruce died, but there's a lot of great things about there's a lot of great things when you look at this movie as a whole that and I will say that it did spawn a TV series with Mark Dacascos.
Yes.
Um,
Oh, it was such a great series.
it
I
was
freaking loved it.
it was Mark Dacascos was the Crow, and then you had
Yep.
I
It
will
was
say
a
that the
complete
only
retelling. It was a complete retelling, and they expanded on it. It was called Crow Stairway to Heaven.
mhm.
They expanded on it. They basically retold the story. He wasn't killing people per se. It was almost like think of
Ghost
Ghost Rider
Riders,
in
exactly, the
his
penance there.
days. Yeah. Like Fun Boy, he basically, you know, rehabilitated Fun Boy, so to speak, made him feel all the pain and anguish. And, he later, slightly becomes a better person or tries to. Um, we see him, like, there's instances when he can see Shelly, his girlfriend. Um, but at one point, he's actually starting to have, like, he's almost living again, making relationships. In fact, the cop originally played by Ernie Hudson is now played by the father from Sister, or was this Sister?
Yes,
No,
yeah,
it
it
was
was
Smart Guy.
smart guy. You're right.
Yeah, it was the guy who played the father in Smart Guy, which was the uh, show that was the little brother of Tia and Tamara Mowry. Uh, but it was a good show. It was produced in Toronto. We know a lot of great shows are produced in Toronto. A lot of Canadian actors were in that, and they expanded on the mythology that there are crows, not just one, but there's actually a female crow that appears later in the series, and they also had an evil version, a negative version of the crow, which were serpents. I mean, it was really great. I wish the series would have done better. It was a time when a lot of syndicated shows were on the air, and it was kind of hard to compete with. And I think it just didn't find the right audience yet. Would love to see them kind of redo it now.
I think it'd be amazing, especially with Skarsgård being the one that's gonna
Yeah,
take the lead, and I think Skarsgård does a great job. He did a great job in Tarzan. He did a great job. His brother, and that's the Skarsgård family that has
yeah.
been in several films. You got Pennywise. Your younger brother played Pennywise. The older brother did Tarzan, and the older brother wants to come back as the Crow. And I think if he does, he
Well,
would kill it.
the older brother. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna. You guys are probably gonna laugh at me, but he killed it on True Blood
And he also
as
wait,
my
this
boy Eric.
Wait, and he also was in Godzilla vs Kong, and
He also
and
was in Battleship.
yes, he was, which I thought was hilarious. Just as a sidebar, but Dave's pick as a Star Trek fan and a lifelong Star Trek. I'm a Trekker. Yes, I am a Trekker. This film is very underrated by many fans
This is
because
Star
most
Trek meets
people,
Die Hard. Let's be honest.
because see, let's be real. The line from this film that I remember the most is not even a line. It's the dialogue between Worf and Picard, where he says, they push us back. We shall go. I shall go no farther." And he goes, "That's when he was like, you're a coward." And he says, "If you were any other man, I'd kill you where you stand." And
Yeah.
when he said that, and Worf's face, just Michael Dorn just had that Klingon blood pumping,
Yep.
and Picard just sat there. Homeboy knew he could get bodied by Worf, and it was like, "Good, you're fired up. Now let's go handle business." I was like, "This is the shit. This is exactly what Star Trek should be." Now,
I remember
now
seeing this in the
I,
theaters.
I didn't think First Contact would have been your choice.
Well, I'm a Trekkie all the way back. I mean, I watched the original
No, no,
series. I
no.
mean,
I
I've
would have
been
thought you would have
watching
picked the first movie of the series, not First Contact.
Generations.
Yeah, I thought
No,
Generations
I
was
I picked this one, and I'll explain why I picked this. This showed that okay, there's sci-fi, right? We were in
mhm.
the original Star Trek movies. This was like the most hardcore action, but it had a perfect balance to it.
The Borg
because
are
you
they
had the
Swedish?
comedy because you had the crew on Earth working with Zephyr Cochrane. Like Zephyr Cochrane's hitting on Deanna,
I mean, she's
and
hot. I met her in real life.
she's
She's hot.
drunk. Riker's like, "Wait, you're drunk?" She's like, "No, I'm not. This is not the time to argue about time." She's just Marina
This is
Sirtis
yeah.
is completely drunk.
And folks, if you
Uh,
haven't met her, she's amazing.
and they pulled out deep dives in this movie. I mean, we got Reginald Barkley, Dwight
Hmm.
Schultz, aka Holland Man Murdoch from the A Team, and he played a reoccurring character, by name of Reginald Reg Barkley, and they brought him into this movie. They didn't have to.
If this is
I
not
hate
proof
you.
I'm a Trekker,
I hate you.
folks, I've met her.
I hate you. I hate you very much. Uh, but no, I mean, he's kind of a deep dive character. Like they decided to bring him in. They could have had anyone do the lines, but they brought neurotic, Reg Barkley. They brought Dwight Schultz, and he was amazing in there. And he's appeared on so many shows.
Hmm.
I think he appeared on one or two episodes of Deep Space Nine, of course, on Next
Yeah,
Generation, and on Voyager many
yeah,
times.
he was on Voyager of quite a few episodes, and
Yes,
he was
but
in Deep Space
it's
Nine for two.
it was such a deep dive. They had a lot of comedy with it. Like uh, those that don't know, Star Trek First Contact is the Borg attacks, and what happens is they actually travel back to Earth, and they somewhat succeeded, but the Enterprise is caught in a wake, kind of like
A
think of
time
like
wake.
the car in front of you leaves exhaust and you're engulfed in smoke. That's kind of the same thing here, but with time. So what Picard orders is that the Enterprise is to go forward through the rift in time and stop the damage that the Borg have done. But it's the day of first contact, which is the day that Zephyr Cochrane would fly his warp ship that he built and to actually break the warp barrier, but at the same time the Vulcans would see this, and that's when they decide to make first contact with Earth, which would send Earth on the projected path that would eventually lead them to further space travel and eventually a coalition, which would then become the Federation. If you're a fan of Star Trek Enterprise, you know what I'm talking about. Uh,
Hell,
and
if you're a fan of Picard season 3, because
oh
this
yeah,
was this was the storyline that was pretty much mentioned in all of
yeah,
season 3 was the Borg, because the Borg were the main
yep.
villains in that season. So again, for
But
those who are fans, check it out.
there's a funny scene when Picard is examining Zephyr Cochrane's ship, and he's like feeling it, and Data's asking him, well, does tactile sensation actually increase the overall experience? And he's yeah, and you see the two of them hold, putting their hands on the ship, and Deanna's like, "Do you two want to be alone?" I mean, they have perfect comedy in here. Of course, this is a cast that's been working for years and years together, but also this is directed by Mr. Jonathan Frakes.
It was, and this
And I
isn't the
think
first film that he did.
this was his first feature film. And he's gone on to direct so many different TV shows and series. He's all over the place. He's a great director, and I think this proved it. There was even speculation that if they do another Star Trek movie, that he might direct it, but that's neither here nor there because it's still just hearsay right now. But
Well, they
this
also
is
said Terry Matasis wants to
yeah.
work with them because he wants
Well,
Matasis wants to do the
well,
the next
Frakes
Star Trek
has directed
series.
so many shows or so many episodes of the Picard series, which is great, of Discovery and so many others. But this was a full blown action movie because yes, they go back in time to make sure first contact happens, but at the same time, the Borg, when they were supposedly destroyed by the Enterprise, they beamed onto the Enterprise and they're taking the Enterprise over. And Patrick Stewart, if you never thought you never envisioned him as an action hero, he friggin' proved he's a fucking action hero in this movie.
Well, he was in
He
his early 60s,
Yeah,
early
and
60s when he did
he's
this.
fighting like he's they're in the holodeck fighting. They are outside the ship near the deflector trying to stop the Borg from creating a beacon. There is so much amazing action in here. There's comedy because like Worf has a thing about walking in space that he's not comfortable with. Like you think Worf is taken out at one point. He comes back, the Borgs, there's some Borgs that are trying to grab him and take him away. Nope. He came back. In fact, he had like one of their cords wrapping around his leg, which was losing air to seal up the hole. I mean, Worf is badass in this movie. Everyone is friggin' badass in the movie, but Picard is. We never seen Picard so angry, so fired. Like he was just pure fire.
And you see it,
He was,
and you definitely see it with in the
and
TV show.
and there's references to, of course, Ahab because Picard, of course, was wounded. He was one of the Borg at one point in time, which caused
He was assimilated with his
thousands,
little
if not
choo-choo.
millions, of to die, which is something he carries through him all the way to even to Picard series. But I mean, it's just so much, so much power. Uh, Alfred Woodard
Killed it.
is amazing. James Cromwell
He
as
did a great
Zefram
job.
Cochrane killed it. He's appeared several times in Star Trek: The Next Generation and Deep Space Nine.
As Ephraim Cochrane.
No, as other characters.
Well, yes, and he did in the so
Yes.
in the
I mean,
older
he
show
he
he did
did
too.
reprise himself on Enterprise, of course, but he's played a lot of different characters over the years uh in Star Trek. So I mean, obviously he loves Star Trek. Everybody involved with this project was just amazing. And uh speaking of deep dives, we get I can't think of the actor's name, Ethan Phillips, who plays Neelix, plays a hologram
Yep.
uh on the holodeck. And you also get Robert Picardo, the doctor from Voyager, appearing as the EMH on the Enterprise E. And because Crusher's like, I swore I would never use one of these things. And she's like, activate EMH. And of course he appears. And the interaction between him and the Borg are friggin' hilarious. It's a funny movie, but it's a dark Star Trek movie.
It's one of the better
And
ones. It's one of the
and
better ones.
the thing is, Generations was kind of mixed reviews, but this one kind of solidified that yes, Star Trek can move forward without Picard or without Kirk, without Shatner, without Nimoy, without any of the OGs. It could stand on its own two legs, and it could kick anything's ass. And that's why I
I
love
agree.
this movie. What one of my favorite scenes in this movie is?
There's a lot, so I'm not gonna guess. You just say
When
it.
Cromwell is looking for, he's like, "Oh, wait a minute, I forgot something." He's checking his pockets. He pulls out that green octagonal disc. It's like
Hmm.
their version of a CD player. He pops it in, and he's rocking out to his tune, "Magic Carpet Ride," as the missile ship is going through its silo. It was perfect. If like I got goosebumps watching that.
It's
I'm
a
like
damn good film.
I'm a music person, so like you put the right piece of music in a certain part, it just hits. And this was just like Data, you know, let's just say he goes through some changes in this film. And of course, Brent Spiner delivers his lines so perfect, both the serious and the comical ones. I mean, everybody in the film, they friggin' killed it. And honestly, if you're a Star Trek fan, if you haven't watched Picard, uh, seasons 1 and 2, you might feel a little haphazard at times, possibly.
Nah, they're
I
great.
I loved them, but the third one hits in such a great way, just like this movie hits in such a great way. So that's why I picked this for my honorable mentions.
I mean, hands down. Again, can't argue the choices. I really can't.
Are we ready for number 1?
But of course,
Number 1 movie of the 90s.
folks, I mentioned it last video. Terminator was by far a great film. This movie is
No
number
doubt.
3, number 3 in my personal top 3 films of all time in my life. Terminator 2 Judgment Day was one of the first films I remember going to see. I don't have many good memories of my father, but the good memories I did have, we saw Terminator 2 Judgment Day. And I remember when I was in high school, about to graduate to go to college, we had taken a class in advanced computers. And my teacher at the time, he showed us Terminator 2 Judgment Day because he taught us about the morphing. He had gotten access to the morphing program that showed how you
I
could
thought
do
you
the
were going to say grade.
T1000s. I wish, but it was amazing. I mean, I love Cameron. I love the series. I loved Eddie Furlong's character. I love Linda Hamilton reprising her Sarah Connor character. Obviously Robert Patrick as the T1000 sets a tone for what you're going to see in the other rest of the franchises. I mean, hands down, I can talk about this movie for hours about why I think it's one of the best
I
films of
mean,
all
Cameron
time.
developed new technology basically for this
He
one.
pulled a
I
George
mean,
Lucas.
yes.
Lucas is always Industrial Light and Magic has always been the forerunners for everything new when it comes to Cameron beat them. For the first time Cameron beat them with this, and it was amazing to see. I
And
mean, again, it pushed the story along. It needed what everything it needed to do.
Schwarzenegger surprised a lot of people with this one
It's what I think it's probably one of his best films he's ever
because
done.
people thought, oh, another Terminator. Oh, he's going to be all robotic. He's actually starts to develop a personality because he's really supposed to be a protector for John Connor, and he winds up being like a surrogate father. And I mean, come on, that scene when he says goodbye.
That's why I'm getting the Mafex. I already
I
got
mean,
the Mafex
it's
pre-ordered of him with the going down, and he has the arm all damaged,
yeah.
and he's got the
The,
you know. I mean,
I mean, it hits so hard. I mean, it is an action movie, you know. The score, I mean, what was it? They had "Live and Let Die" was featured on here from Guns N'
welcome to the
Roses.
jungle. Welcome to the jungle.
Uh, was it
Welcome to
"Welcome
the
to the
It
Jungle"?
was Welcome to the Jungle because they made the music video had Arnold Schwarzenegger in it. They made a Terminator 2 exclusive on MTV. I remember watching it, and he came through, and it was Welcome to the Jungle, and he's walking through, and then they had Out of Time.
I remember it differently, but that's perfectly fine. But I mean, like the motorcycle, the semi,
Fortnite. They get the Fortnite the
yeah,
skin with
yep.
Peely.
I mean, this it's a great movie. Linda Hamilton is total like psycho badass right now in this one because she's been in a psych ward, because she's trying to prepare for the war. And nobody believes that the war is really happening. We get the psychologist from the first movie in this one. And of course, he would make a third final appearance in the third one, which was not done all that well. Resident Machines. This is, I mean, it's a great movie. This is perfect Schwarzenegger. Everything was perfect. Like him and Cameron when they get together, they usually not always, but usually lightning strike. But Dre,
Sorry, I was just looking at the video. I decided to try to look see if I can find the music video for Dave. I mean, again, like I said, I can go down the list of everything I love about this film, but I'm not because it's quintessentially again, it is that second movie that bridges the first to the third. Sadly, it's the third film that really ruins it for the franchise. Salvation kind of salvages it. Genesis was terrible, and then you have Dark Fates, which was good, not great, but it would be a good reboot to the series. And I'm gonna leave it at that. Now, Dave's pick, which I just was talking to two of my friends outside of YouTube about The Matrix. I mean, folks, Star Wars, The Phantom Menace did not make this list. And I'm saying that with reason because The Matrix was a far
Misa don't know
superior
what you're
movie.
talking about.
This was a far superior movie. And I can go down the list of why. Lawrence Fishburne, Keanu Reeves. This revitalized his film career.
Joey Pants.
Joey Pants. Joey Pants.
Joey
You
Pants
know,
is all over this. What are you talking about?
I mean, you know, this film is. I mean, Hugo Weaving got built. Like everybody knew who Hugo Weaving was after this film. Agent Smith, Mr. Anderson.
Mr. Anderson.
I mean, the voice of Megatron, Elrond. I mean, I can go down the list of things this guy's done outside of his
Red
career.
Skull.
You know, Red Skull, the
But
emissary for the Soul Stone, because we can't call him Red
I
Skull
mean,
anymore.
in the 90s, this movie got a lot of bad flack because at the time there were kids in high schools who they were wearing all black, very much like they do here, and they were sadly shooting up schools. And they wanted to blame it on the Matrix. Oh, because there's all this gratuitous you know, gun violence.
Bondages and
And you know what?
gunplay.
There, hell, look at all the gun violence in Terminator, but they didn't blame on Terminator. No, they blamed on Matrix. Matrix was it was almost Star Wars like. Okay, because Neo, he's Luke Skywalker. Think about it, right?
Oh, don't pull an Aragon. Don't pull an Aragon. No, no, no. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Lord Morpheus is the wise teacher. He's the one trying to show him his potential,
What Karate Kid, Mr. Miyagi?
if you will. I mean, it's
No, see,
I
Dave
mean, but
Dave realizes when I said Aragon because that whole kid was a kid. What if you gave a kid Star Wars and put dragons in Star Wars instead of the Force? That's Aragon.
well,
Don't
I
do that
mean,
to the Matrix.
do
The
you want
Matrix
me
is
do you want me to do the Star Wars Harry Potter thing?
no. That's what I'm saying. The Matrix itself, folks, is
Uh,
a freaking classic in and of itself. And I say
well,
that
the
sadly,
whole
it's not a
trilogy
classic.
is the whole trilogy.
Mm,
I said trilogy. I
mm.
didn't say quadrilogy
No, no. Even the
because
third one,
we
even the
don't talk
third
about the
one.
fourth one.
Well,
We
okay,
don't.
because you have to talk about the Wachowski brothers because they
Yes,
were the ones that did the first three, and you talk about the Wachowski sisters who did the because basically, as I read a little bit online, that the reason this movie, the fourth movie, was made was because Warner Brothers came
we're
to
not
them
talking
and
about the
said,
fourth movie.
"Well, I'm not. I'm just going to mention it." Warner Brothers said that if you don't make this film, we're going to make it without you. And they made that film, which is a woke piece of trash. No offense to them, the Wachowski sisters. It was a woke piece of trash. The first three films, fan freaking tastic. If you were if anything, like I said to my friend who's the owner of Rebel Base, Troy, I said, you watched The Matrix 1, you saw The Matrix 2, you were like, damn it, I gotta wait a year. You played the Matrix video game on GameCube or PlayStation 2,
Animatrix.
and then you wait, you had to play the Matrix game just to get the 10-minute video clip at the end of the video game. Then you watch the Animatrix, and if you were that anal and crazy, you went to ABC, which was Channel 7 when I lived in New York, and watched the Matrix television series of 5 episodes and then failed. And that gave you all you needed to get you ready for the third Matrix film.
By the way, ABC is still Channel 7 here in New York State.
Well, New York State. Well, again, I live in North Carolina, so ABC, I don't even
Yeah.
know what it is on
So,
regular television. But
but
Dave picked the
Ma-
banger.
Matrix. Again, you guys know I love a movie when you get someone who's kind of a zero and they get to step up to be the hero. I
That's
mean,
been his theme.
Mr. Andis. He's a computer hacker in his spare time, and he's opened up to this whole world, all these abilities. He doesn't think he's the chosen one, you know, and he's told that he really isn't. And then when the girl that he likes, Trinity, when she's in danger, oh he lets everything out, and he freaking saves her. I mean, he saves her, saves Morpheus, he catches the freaking helicopter, he's doing all the stuff. I mean, he's unstoppable. Like when he's facing the agents, he takes the agents down. I mean, come on. That scene when he puts his hand up, says no, and all the bullets just stop.
Well, let's just talk about that real quickly. Bullet Time. Bullet
Yep.
Time was
New
created,
technology.
again, new technology. The Wachowski sisters created that in the 90s, which Max Payne,
Yes.
the video game, great video game, incorporated that. And several things later started doing that. So it's like
It
the
was
impact of this film.
I was rewatching the Umbrella Academy season 2. Season 2, they do the bullet thing. So I mean, it's something that's been used for decades and will continue to be used for decades. Movies and TV shows.
Exactly. So very good. Again, bangers of bangers, man. You get you once again, Dave. I'm impressed, but I know you are going to try to put doubt in me because you're going to be like, no, there will be a movie. Dre will be like, no, no, there will be one that he will not like, and it's quite possible. You are
One of
correct.
these days, I'll pull out Howard the Duck.
Howard Duck's a great film, though. You can't beat that. Yeah, I
Well, you
love that.
can't beat Leah
My wife
Thompson.
and Leah Thompson. Everybody loves her. She's hot.
You know who doesn't? I mean, come on.
So
So
go ahead.
no, ladies first. Go ahead.
In any event, Dave, we are
Yes, sir.
continuing our best film battles, the BFB, and you guys now have to realize Dave and I have these recorded episodes. So now we're going to be probably doing 2 a week to record so we can get them out for you guys and try to get them so you can keep up. We can try to keep up with everything to make up for things. But just so you guys can understand, we do have something in the 4th episode, which is different. Streaming movies, streaming platforms, Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus. I think that was the choices, and might have thrown in like any of the other like Tubi. I don't know, but you'll be checking those out. But you know, obviously, enjoy what you guys are gonna enjoy. Like if you guys like our choices, tell us. If you guys have different choices, tell us. Comment. We like reading them.
Yes, sir.
Dave, go ahead with your spiel, my good sir.
Well, guys, as always, we want to thank you guys for coming through, checking out the Outer Dimension podcast. You can always find us wherever you get your podcasts from. And of course, you can always check out current and past streams on the Outer Dimension podcast YouTube channel. You can also check those same videos and streams out courtesy of the Collector Safe Space channel. And of course, on Dave's Dimension. Uh, and of course, we have a lot of stuff coming through the pipeline, of course, on all of our channels. Dre has a lot of projects going on. We have a special project hoping to help out one of our fellow YouTubers who's going through some tough times. So please stay tuned for those details coming soon. Of course, I will be focusing on the. I'm also going to be doing my fundraising for the year because I do a lot of different events, but my focus is the Ride for Roswell and the Stream for the Cure, all which benefits the Roswell Park Comprehensive Cancer Institute. More details on that stream will be forthcoming. Again, I do apologize personally for the scheduling that we're not currently doing live streams for now.
Don't
Hopefully
apologize.
that's
It's
gonna.
it's our life, dude. Lives happen.
I'm talking about it. I'm talking to you. Hey, don't make me like find a way to contact your wife and have her like shave your beard, your goatee while you're asleep,
She wouldn't do
and
that.
your eyebrows. Just
She
be a
wouldn't do
hairless
that.
mole rat.
She wouldn't do that. She values me not being driving her crazy.
So, uh, but we have a lot of things coming through the pipeline. Again, personally, I apologize because my schedule has co-opted our live routine, but hopefully things will be changing soon. At least I can hope. But until then, we will continue, like Dre said, recording, doing some pre-recordings. Dre will be hanging out in the chat on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern.
I will not
So
be in all of them, but I will try to be in them as best I can.
because he is just a man sitting in front of a computer typing on a keyboard.
A man who literally will be trying to catch up with his work on Wednesdays because since Dave and I can't go live now, I'm going to be using those days to strictly work on the show. So I'll be doing our cheat sheets, which Dave knows takes a lot of time, and you know, so I'll be trying to do that
He,
and
he
edit for
he's
my own channel.
he's gonna be working on his only films page. What?
You know, that's actually not a bad idea. Only films.
Hey. But
Hmm.
guys, if you have any suggestions on episodes, films that you would like us to see, yes, Dre already has this planned out for at least a little bit more than half the year, maybe even 8 or 10 months. But we're
Yeah,
always open to taking ideas,
and
you
we'll
know.
shift them around.
And honestly, to any female viewers out there, if you would like us to cover any maybe romance comedies or something, you would like to see us do some picks maybe for Valentine's Day or something, let us know through the pipeline.
I got
It's
two
the Outer
requests.
Dimensions Podcast at gmail.com, the Outer Dimensions Podcast on Instagram. And of course, we are also on the X,
X.
aka Twitter, or what used to be known as Twitter. You can find us on the Outer Dim Pod on Twitter as well. And of course, you can always message us directly through our normal socials. Dre, of course, the CEO of the Collector Safe Space and co-host and founder of the Outer Dimension podcast, and of course me, Dave of Dave's Dimension. Uh, like I said, Dre has a lot of projects coming through the pipeline. I have some tech videos coming through. We built the new dimensional grid, so we're hoping to do some lives. Well, I can't say we'll be doing live streams just yet. Once my schedule frees up, and then I should be able to do live streams. But we're going to be doing some video content. I'm going to try and do some new content for Dave's Dimension, see what happens. But hoping everyone will help support the initiative that we're going to be doing for our cohort, our colleague in YouTube, and also for the Stream for the Cure, which I'm looking at possibly doing a 10 or 12-hour stream. If you would like to be a part of that, you know how to find me on my socials. Please feel free to do so. But guys, until next time,
Hold up,
Dre,
hold up, wait. Before you do that, before I say my line, before I say my thing, there is been requests that Dave and I will talk about for musicals. People have asked me and Dave to do any of the musicals if we like, and I love me a musical, so I will. Dave and I will definitely consider that as part of our routine. So, but we're like I said, we're doing Black History is coming up, and we have at least 10 more episodes planned of this series before we switch over for our it'll be right in time for the Oscars. And at the Oscar season, we're going to switch back to some other projects we've been wanting to work on. And then we'll continue forward. But now I'll say my spiel. So, like Dave tells me, watch your head on the way out of the portal, folks. We'll see you next time.
thank you guys, and we'll catch you on the flip side.